I'm a DJ boy, going to Dcentral, making NFT from DeFi, being crypto poor but JPay rich.
Without further ado, so we can get a little bit more on schedule, let me introduce our next panel moderator for how to create innovation in Web3. Please put your hands together for Mr. Jonathan Blanco.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. This has been such a fantastic event. Really big round of applause to the Dcentral team. Let's give them a round of applause, please. And I want to welcome up my panelists. Just come on up and we'll just get started. We got Alex, Stefan, Michael, and I. What's going on?
Let's go. Let's give this some energy here.
So, how's everybody doing? Is everybody having a good time? Yeah, nice. No, this has been a great event. I can't stress that enough. So, we're talking about innovation. Innovation sometimes is an overused term, but it's pretty clear that there's a lot of innovation taking place in Web3. So, let's get this started. I'll have my panelists introduce themselves, and we're going to get right into it. So, why don't we start over with you, Stefan, and we'll come over this way.
Hey everybody, I've had the privilege to speak twice now today, so you got to listen to me for a third time. Basically, I'm Stefan Roost. I am the founder of Laguna. Laguna is an inflation-protected DeFi ecosystem based on Trueflation.com.
Wow, awesome. I'm Mike Krilivsky, second time speaking, almost as privileged as Stefan. Serial entrepreneur, serial investor, and I'm with NFTPay here, CEO of NFTPay. We're credit card payments for NFTs, no crypto wallet needed.
What's up? I'm Alex Gierczyk, a serial entrepreneur, crypto native, yield farmer, and I'm the founder of Tender.fi, a generalized margin protocol for DeFi. So you can take margin, you can take under-collateralized loans on DeFi protocols.
Nice. And I'm Jonathan G. Blanco. I'm the founder of Niftmint. We build NFT commerce infrastructure for brands. So this is going to be a good conversation. We got NFT side, we got DeFi, all innovation. Let's just get right into it. When you hear, hey, the topic here, how to create innovation for Web3, are you actually creating innovation for Web3, or are you just creating innovation to solve a problem?
Yeah, I'd love to jump in on that.
Go for it.
So I think a lot of Web3 right now is recreating Web 2, but without the downsides of Web 2. So without permission, without censorship. And it's very challenging because a DLT, a blockchain, is not built for most things. And so the problem is, how do you make that work? And so that applies to finance, that applies to social media, that applies to everything.
Yeah, I think the angle that we're going after with NFTPay is we're seeing the crazy amount of innovation in Web3, but there's this giant gap from like the very technical side of Web3 and then the rest of the world, the masses, how things operate now. So we're maniacally focused on making things simple and easy to use so people can take advantage of Web3.
Yeah, I would take a slightly grander approach, and I think we are innovating, full stop. Whether it's for Web3 or not, we're providing alternatives to the systems that we have today. And the systems that we have today, be they the platforms, be they the institutions, are all running on their grounds, on their terms, in their rules, and in that legacy world. We're trying to build new worlds. What does that new world look like? How do we innovate in that world? And how do we change the dime? And how do we make it 10x better than what we're experienced to in the old system?
Yeah, just to echo on that, I love the fact that you're talking about we're just innovating, right? And it just so happens that Web3 is better in a lot of cases. Not in every case. Look, I'm a Web3 believer and I'm building a Web3 company, but we're at a phase right now where what is being built is actually better than the incumbent, than the alternative. You have commercial banks basically saying that the Bitcoin network might be better than Swift. DeFi guys, you want to jump in on this?
Yeah, absolutely. So my previous company was dietary supplements. We actually sold a lot of avant-garde things like kratom, hemp, etc. And payment services were a bitch. Banking was a bitch. It was incredibly challenging. And over time, we found that 20% of our customers were paying in crypto. People preferred crypto over standard payment channels. So I think that going forward, that'll continue to grow, increase, and even get easier to use.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think not only, we have to build alternatives, right? I just feel that the systems that we have in place today are so incumbent to anybody trying to innovate and disrupt. Innovation is about disruption. And disruption by nature is uncomfortable. People don't like disruption, especially not the establishment, especially not existing institutions that already have their hold in an economy. And that's what we're about. So we're here to get some scars. We hustle, we beg, we borrow, we steal. We need to move the needle in ways that the incumbents don't find too comfortable. And that's what we got to do. And that's part of innovation, in my view.
Right. You know, horse and buggy dealers weren't exactly excited about the car, right? So naturally they're going to be talking like, hey, don't use that thing. So, you know, on the payment side, right? So payments is hypercritical in Web3, in crypto. We want to start seeing adoption. We do have to make sure it's easy though, right? Like it can't just be like, you know, go here, transfer this, do that. So, you know, NFTPay, it sounds like you're making it pretty simple for someone to just be able to acquire.
Yeah, you know, you have NFTs, which are a mega advancement, you know, in humanity. You know, now you have the ability to find permanent ownership on the blockchain in which we trust in math and not people to have ownership of something of value. And in order to purchase it, we came up with a way to purchase it, which is a 12-step multi-day process for someone new, which is like, you know, you have to get a crypto wallet. You have to remember the seed phrase, otherwise you lose everything. You have to go to an exchange and wait for Coinbase to do their thing and upload selfies and bank account statements and then go buy cryptocurrency, then send it to your crypto wallet, then connect your crypto wallet to buy the NFT. Sure, there's ways you can do that, but that sounds awful, right? And so one of the many innovations that, you know, we really concentrate hard on is doing all that stuff in the back end, behind the scenes, so the customer doesn't have to do it. You know, we're maniacally focused on impacting 1 billion people, bringing this NFT value that was created to the masses.
Definitely. Look, you know, we all know that there's some broken steps in how you have to operate in Web3 right now. I always like to say Web3's one of the only innovations where we forgive really bad user experience, but that's going to fix and that's going to improve, you know, over time.
Don't you think that has improved?
I mean, 1,000%,
right?
1,000%,
1,000%, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
it's still bad, but 1,000% has improved.
Yeah, no. And I think largely we have innovated significantly for Web 3.0 in terms of the tooling that we have available, right? You're building tooling to make payments easier. You know, we've had developer tools that have been created, oracles that are already pre-developed so people can plug and play and work with. So we are also trying to make it simpler for the developers to build and focus on user experience. And we need to attract more UX designers into the crypto that also have an understanding on how the blockchains work. Because it's a very different beast building on a sequential database that's in your room versus a sequential database that is spread across 50,000 nodes around the world, all with different networking and compute power, running different operating systems. It's a very different world to work in that, and how do you build a user experience for that?
Yeah, on that note, there's a lot of opcodes that are currently in development for Ethereum that will make the interface so much better. For example, a standard wallet, you have a private key. You have one source of failure and you're screwed if you're compromised. Why not change that? So right now, Vitalik has a great article about social wallets. So with a social wallet, you have your friends as guardians. You elect other public addresses and your transactions can go through, and if you lose your key, your guardians, your friends, can get your money back. So if you want to send your money out, some random address, your friends have to approve that. Much more secure, much less vulnerable to being compromised, much better user interface. But that's a technical innovation that comes from additional operation codes.
When we start thinking, there's a lot of people in this room who are builders, who are active, who are working on these things. What are the things that you think, let's start with are going well, that people are innovating well, and then we'll answer that, and then we'll go what are some things that maybe we're over-engineering or we're over-innovating on? So let's start on the positive side first.
That's a tough question. I think, I don't know where we're over-engineering. I just feel, how do we find user experience individuals that understand these opcodes, that can convert that into a front-end, journey? How do I build for that? How do I reduce the number of clicks? How do I increase the engagement, the safety element, right? We are dealing with people's money. And whilst money has become a fast-moving consumer product, how do we work in that, right? We have monies in all sorts of form of tokens. We have, the Big 10, we have NFTs that have value. How do we manage that at a better level to make sure that the holder of those funds actually feel it's protected, it's safe, I have access to it at any time, and I can find them at any time?
I think some highlights, some acknowledgments and recognition would be, blockchain being decentralized, just the core concept, where if the entire United States lost power, the blockchain is still preserved. So all these records are still kept intact across the world. I think that's something that's a major innovation that we should all be proud of. I think cryptocurrencies, another a form of money on the blockchain, where countries like El Salvador, cities like Miami are adapting it and giving people this new freedom of being able to use and spend and get pay in cryptocurrencies. And also obviously NFTs. I'm extremely bullish on NFTs. Think it's going to be a $10-trillion market. And I think these are something that's going to change the game in a lot of industries.
Yeah, I don't think that any thing is being over-engineered technically, but I think that things like governance feel a bit contrived. The truth is, early stage ventures, they work better in a dictatorship. You just need quick executive decisions. We saw what happened with Luna. They couldn't make quick decisions because they had to go through their governance. There's many delays with that. So I think that is an area of maybe over-contrivedness.
Yeah, no, definitely. And look, Stefan, you've talked about this a couple times of application layer, making it easier and so forth. I think for better or worse, so a lot of times when we talk about application layer, we are talking about centralize and centralization. I personally think decentralization gets overused. Most stuff is not, in my opinion, but most stuff is not decentralized. But it feels good to say that out loud. But I don't know that that's necessarily a bad thing either, right? So I'm a Bitcoin person. That's why I like Bitcoin, is because I do believe it's decentralized. But I don't necessarily think the other things have to be decentralized. So I'm curious your all thoughts when we think about innovation. Does that matter? Are we really at the end of the day actually talking about ownership or ownership rights? And does that supersede essentially this notion for having to be decentralized?
I think what Alex said is so spot on, right? As a startup, you're launching a business, right? And I think you do need dictatorship in that environment. You need somebody that's going to make the final decisions, and in some cases, you need to make those decisions really quick based on very limited information that you have. And so, but the governance model, the decentralization happens over time, right? Bitcoin, when it first launched in 2008, wasn't decentralized. It didn't have that volume of nodes out there. It was managed by a couple of people that were maintaining that node. And then it just scaled up because everybody saw the reward mechanism and the gamification associated with that. And I think with every startup and any decentralized business, we all need to work. What is the time horizon for decentralization and decentralization of the governance as well?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, not much to add to that. Honestly, I think I completely agree. There's definitely like a veneer of decentralization on things that are not. When you look at the layer 1 chains, all of them are highly centralized except maybe Ethereum. And decentralization is a continuum, right? Like, is your node a Raspberry Pi like Bitcoin, or is your node a $500 laptop like Ethereum? Or is it a $30,000 server like Solana? And where's the line? So I think that all the alternative layer 1s, they're coming at this from a more centralized perspective so that they can be faster and more competitive than Ethereum. But the end goal of everybody is the same spot. Everyone wants to be fast and decentralized. They're just coming at it from different angles.
Let me push back on that. Do they want to be fast and decentralized, or do they want to be fast and have more ownership value?
How do you mean ownership value?
So I guess, so if I have trouble reconciling with, well, it's different on a protocol or protocol layer, I guess, unless there is, call it, large founder pools or people who have large influence who are on the founder level. I have a hard time reconciling, that with decentralization because there's, of course, self-interest at play. So I guess, again, like, not to call out any chains, and again, I'm not saying it's good or bad, but does it really matter if they're decentralized for what they're doing? And then does that also call it the coins that we do view to be actually decentralized, have that value for that very reason?
I think a lot of people don't care if it's decentralized right now. They're caring about what's the vision, what's the opportunity. Although in a bear market, people do care more, it seems like, because the assets where value is accruing is Ethereum and Bitcoin right now.
What's your view in terms of layer 1 space, right? You look at all the layer 1 chains, and some of the chains are holding up. We've had multiple forks because gas fees go up, price goes up for transactions. Do you feel that in a world where tokens take a bigger role in our lives, that the current, let's call it block space, will suffice? Do we need to innovate more and providing more blockchains? What's your view on that? I mean, I'm intrigued to find that out.
I think we need more innovation for sure. Even when Ethereum 2.0 launches, it's not going to be fast enough. It's not going to have enough space. It's still going to be expensive. It's going to be better for the environment, maybe, kind of. That's arguable because there's a lot of sources of energy that are not connected to the grid that are perfect for blockchains. But we definitely need more innovation in this regard, I believe.
I mean, maybe unpopular opinion, but I think there is a lot of value behind decentralization. I think a lot of companies and founders try to force it into something that doesn't need decentralization. But I think decentralization is something that makes the ownership very unique and valuable. Like I said, if there's been rumors that Russia can turn off our whole electrical grid in the United States, well, if all our records are paused or kind of go away for a bit, again, that's not going to happen on the blockchain. The blockchain is going to continue to move forward. So some chains like Flow, for example, which is a centralized chain, their business stops and that's it. For other ones that are decentralized, it keeps going. So I think there is value behind it. I don't think every business needs it. I think it depends on the context of like the product or service.
Yeah, 100%.
Hybrid approaches are very interesting. Some of the most popular apps right now have a very hybrid approach to decentralization. OpenSea is a great example. DYDX is a great example. I think that's going to become more popular and more standard.
Yeah, and to clarify, I guess, to help the audience along too, like we're kind of talking about two different things at the same time, so my fault as the moderator for not doing that is that we're talking about protocols and then we're also talking about companies, and so a protocol and a company are going to operate, of course, a lot differently. But when it comes to innovation, regardless of how you do it, at the end of the day, it's to build upon better than before. So if you're going to take certain elements of one thing and certain elements of another and certain elements of another, and now you got something better, at the end of the day, like that's what all code is. It's just like stuff on stuff on stuff and then rewritten over again. So we just have a handful of minutes here, and so where I would love to take the conversation is how are you seeing from like a customer standpoint, like particularly on like this DeFi notion, right? You know, we had DeFi summer, what was that, 2 years ago now? And DeFi is still here, but NFTs kind of took the limelight for a second. What are some of the latest things that are happening in DeFi that those of us who are not in the space might not be aware of right now?
I think there's a lot of innovation. Were you gonna go? I'm sorry. Yeah, I think there's a lot of innovation right now in derivatives. So options are a great example. Options are incredibly inefficient in DeFi because you have to like put up the asset for an option that you write. You have to cover the option. So I think there's gonna be a lot of innovation in this regard. There's a lot of innovation in peer-to-pool. So I don't know if the audience is familiar with GMX, how familiar they are. GMX is excellent. It's peer-to-pool margin accounts. So I think there's going to be a lot of innovation in that regard. AMMs are a great example. Now you can be a market maker. You just need money. You can join a market making protocol. I think there's going to be a lot of that happening. A lot of democratizing or just popularizing these things that were only for the mathematical elite in the past.
It's like, I think what you're, I'll just echo, we have innovated amazing in crypto, in Web3, right? I mean, look, Bitcoin alone was a combination of 3 different innovations in one. Boom. Smart contracts that allowed us to build so many different protocols. Bitcoin had it with colored coins, but then they decided to go another route, right? And so then all of a sudden DeFi, AMMs, you talked about that. Automated AMMs is such a milestone for the whole DeFi summer. If we wouldn't have had that, we wouldn't have the DeFi summer that we had. NFTs, I mean, what an innovation is NFTs. I mean, look how much we've done in 10 years. I mean, that's huge. And I think the whole financial market, the whole industry, we saw earlier how big that is. The options and derivatives market is quadrillions. I mean, nobody can picture that size. I don't know how big that is. I mean, it's bigger than this auditorium, that's for sure. But, that's how big that industry is. NFT, the whole art industry, the whole art industry wants to come in here. The whole music industry, right? All of these people want to enter into the NFT realms. What does that mean? What are the protocols we need? How do we build a user experience around that? I think that's really in front of us. That's still, we have a whole mountain to climb.
Yeah, we can't even see the iceberg yet. Right?
Yeah, about 1% of the world has crypto wallets.
Right.
And the rest does not.
I have a fun fact that supports your point, Stefan. So in the United States, financial assets are about 90% leverage. That means that there's about $9 borrowed for $1 of like actual equity. In DeFi, it's about 2% leverage. So 98% equity, 2% leverage. And that's growing, and that's going to probably reach parity with the traditional economy. So the decentralized economy is going to grow massively. It's going to undergo several massive booms.
I love that. Okay.
Yeah, I think the advantage we have is we don't have leverage today. Yeah. There is no leverage here. The TradFi world is over leveraged. When interests go up 0.25%, they're all panicking. The markets go down, panic breaks out. Front page media, goes haywire. It's like, anyway, and so we have such an advantage.
I completely agree.
Yeah, and to that point, look, there's always going to be centralized systems, but those who understand decentralization, those who take the time to think through it, those who take the time to think through how they can bank themselves, doesn't mean you're not going to operate in call it your traditional markets, but just learning that gives you an advantage, overall.
But the most important thing, we need to be able to continue to innovate.
100%.
If we're held back, then we can't slow down. We have to continue to be fast, we have to be agile, and we have to push the needle all the time. And we can't let that drip.
So we're just about out of time. So all good. Hopefully everybody's been enjoying this. We could definitely do this for a lot longer. But what I want to do real quick is give us one last nugget and then tell us where people can keep in touch with you. So we'll just go down over. Give us a gem, and then where can people contact you?
Yeah, I don't have a gem. Sorry, I have the aura ring. No. Look, yeah, you can reach me at srust99. You know, I think I post lots of different gems or inputs. So yeah, follow me on Twitter, srust99. So that's it.
All right, founders, investors, builders. Mike, NFTPay.xyz. Why one nugget is, think about what innovations we are creating, where we're going, and figure out the bridges to get the masses there. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess my last note is that, you know, Web3, DeFi, it's rebuilding everything, but better, transparent, so you actually know the rules. You're not going to be lied to, misled, and that's what we're all participating in, and it's fucking awesome. So that's what we're doing at my company, Tender Finance. We're building a transparent system for lending, for under-collateralized loans. You can keep up with us at our website, Tender.fi. So it's Tender, like I'm gonna hug you, Tender, and .fi. And that's it. Thank you.
Cool. And then my last quick piece of advice is, and you know, it's a general one, but I always like to, I think this really applies to the Web3 space, and that is your lack of understanding of something doesn't diminish its value. So take it upon yourself to really like learn about these things and go about it overall. And then if you want to get in contact with me, you can find me on Twitter at JGProduct. Round of applause for my amazing panel here.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.